Good afternoon. I can't think of a better song to start our afternoon. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Thank you, Katy Perry. Let's hear it for Katy Perry. Okay. Give it to me one more time. Oh, thank you. That was Kelly Clarkson for those idiots that had no idea who that was. Demonstrating my age again. Thank you. I can dance to it, though. Don't make me. Checking in with everybody. How did you do? You had your major networking break, lunch break. Let me hear how many have found someone that might be your accountability partner. I'm liking that. I'm liking that. We're getting there. Now, this is exciting for me because what you're about to do is you're about to eavesdrop on a conversation amongst three executives. And it's so cool that, you know, when this really works well, I just become wallpaper and I pose a question and then they have this incredible conversation. So about to join me here on the stage this afternoon is Marjorie Lauriault, who is the Manager of Organizational Change Management and Transformation with Air Canada. Apparently, she's got some friends in the audience. We also have Rhonda Oshier, who is with Minto, Senior Vice President Finance. Welcome, welcome. And then Kelly Bradshaw, who's with Accenture. She is the Senior Manager of Public Safety. So everybody be safe. And take it easy getting on up into your chairs there. The mount is beautiful. Wait till you see the dismount. That's the tough part. And so welcome, welcome, welcome. Marjorie, maybe I can start with you down on the far end, if you'd be so kind. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey getting into the role that you're at with Air Canada.
Yes, thank you very much, first of all, for having me here today. I kind of have a very busy journey so far, and I think it's worth starting with the fact that I wanted to be an actress, and I did everything I could to get into acting school, but, you know, life decided otherwise. And then I decided to turn around and go to university and start a communication bachelor. But I realized early on, would say, after 2 years, that I was probably better or more comfortable behind the camera, managing, orchestrating, and really leading the team to the production. So therefore, I switched, and I decided to start a bachelor in administration, and I really found my voice. And at that time, I was working for RBC in Montreal, and I got my first promotion as a manager. And after 2 years, I said, you know what, I'm going to do my master when I finish my bachelor. And I did a master in international business. The same time, I got an award at RBC, an excellence award, and I had the opportunity to meet the head of the IT department, and he offered me a job to move to Toronto. So I took the challenge. I moved, stay away from my family, a little girl, moving to Toronto, and it was the best experience. I met a lot of people, grow my experience, but I was missing this fight, this light inside of me, and I was like, I really want to go back to why I did a master at the beginning, and that was about leadership. It was about helping leaders becoming better leaders, and I decided to go into consulting and management consulting, and that's where I really deploy my wings and helping all of those companies, leaders within that company, just being better leaders for themselves, but for their employees, to activate all the efficiencies and productivities and engagement and everything that could come with leadership. And then I got pregnant. And I got another baby right after. So I really got 2 years off work, and my return of maternity leave was at the beginning of COVID. So obviously I was laid off, and it was hard to find another job. It was not an easy situation. You need to put food on the table of your family. So I decided to find a job that was probably, you know, I took a junior position as a project manager for the CSA. And I took the opportunity to just learn more. It was something new, new environment, new challenge. And with time, with my network, I got an opportunity at Air Canada. And now I am manager organizational change management and transformation, and I'm leading and supporting the cultural evolution of Air Canada maintenance. So, and I'm coaching and helping our senior leadership to change the culture within maintenance.
Wow. So, okay, change makes a lot of sense. I heard you say you found your wings. Air Canada makes a lot of sense. And I heard you say you found your voice, which was Zara. So, like, I mean, phenomenal. Like, you're here. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you. Rhonda, what about your journey?
Yeah, that's amazing. That's an amazing story. Mine had a lot of change along the way. I started out, as a CPA designated in one of the large firms in Ottawa. As soon as I got my designation, I left the public accounting and went into industry. I started in the high-tech sector. So was excited with, the leading edge, bleeding edge change type of environment and leadership, and spent some time there. So I did spend a bit of time in the high-tech industry. I did change jobs every 3 to 4 years. It was kind of seeking something more, learning new challenges, working with different teams, observing different management and leadership styles. I had 2 kids, and I took about 5 years off and had clients, small business clients that I worked for during that time. So it was a big change in my career path, but one I thoroughly enjoyed, and it was great. So came back into the industry, went back to high tech because I loved it. It was fast paced. And at one point I got the opportunity to make the change and move to Minto and the real estate industry. And that was 12 years ago. And love the industry. Working at Minto has afforded me a lot of opportunities to change positions. Currently the Senior Vice President of Finance over the Canadian real estate development operations. But I've held 5 different positions, working with different teams, working on some special large-scale projects. So lots of opportunities. So I think looking back over my journey, it was getting lots of exposure to different management types, different leadership styles. I've worked for men, I've worked for women, I've worked for really successful people, I've worked for people who had to, scratch and fight to get things done. So it's been a real learning journey for me, and I think I still continue to learn in my role now.
If we're not, yes, recognition. Incredible. So some of the stories I can hardly wait to hear, and I want to get into the stories as well, but Kelly, tell us about you and your journey.
Okay, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. So after my undergrad in New Brunswick, I decided I was looking for some adventure and I wanted to help people. I joined the RCMP at 22. So I became an RCMP officer, and I was transferred or posted to British Columbia, which I had never been on the west coast of Canada, and I was lucky enough to get posted to a small town called Souk, and it's on Vancouver Island, beautiful place. So that's where I cut my teeth in terms of policing. And I stayed in the RCMP for 27 years, and I enjoyed all of it. I feel really lucky to have worked there in terms of, I feel like I had about, 6 or 7 careers in one. I did so many different things. Over the course of my career, I worked for the United Nations twice, once in New York City, and once in Mali in Western Africa. I was able to lead teams, tactical, operational, technical teams. I was able to work in many different areas of the country. And then about, I think COVID was an interesting time for everybody. I think everybody started to reflect on what was important to them and maybe if they wanted to make any changes in their life. And for me, I thought, you know what, this has been a great career, but I want to have a second career. I want to do something different. I still have energy, and I still feel like I have lots to give. And so I made a really hard choice. I retired from the RCMP, and I started working for Accenture. It's a great company, and now I'm the public safety sub-industry lead for Canada, and I'm doing some amazing work with some amazing people to help grow the industry and help public safety agencies become more modern, transform, help them with their antiquated systems, getting them into the to be more digital, to have make better use of their data. So it's been quite a journey to get here. I have to pinch myself sometimes, but I feel really fortunate. But I feel like everything that I did led up to this moment, and it made me prepared for this opportunity.
Wow. Yeah, recognition right away. And thank you, Accenture, but thank you for your service in keeping us safe. And now, hello.
Thank you.
And the ability to transition that and to have the vision to see transitioning being a police officer into safety within the workplace is like phenomenal. Absolutely. So incredible.
Thank you.
Okay, let me drift and become wallpaper now. Rhonda, I'm going to come to you next here. So as we focus on the importance of empowering women leaders, what qualities or skills do you believe are essential for leaders to develop to thrive and lead confidently in today's world of work?
That's a great question. And, there's a huge breadth of skill sets. And I think if you think about it, when you pick what career you're going to go into or what your occupation or your profession is going to be, there's something that resonates with you that is something that gives you satisfaction, you're good at, you feel some confidence in. And so I think when you get to leadership, I think there's a style or things that are easy for you. I think there's things that come really naturally to you that starts your leadership journey. And I think back to me, being in finance and accounting and analytical mind. And so those were my comfort areas, problem solving, analytical mind, those types of things. And I remember early on, I went to a learning conference, which was a bit technical, a little bit of management, and a little bit of leadership. And first part of the course was they divided you into team building, and you had a task to do. And there was one individual that was on my team, and as soon as the facilitator said go, this person never stopped talking. They talked all the time, never stopped through the whole event. And I was, I'm standing there in my analytical mind, and I'm trying to figure out all the people and the pieces and being like that. And so in the feedback session, this person got a lot of feedback on being so talkative, but I was like, I have none of that game. I have none of that, right? And it was a real gap for me. I was like, you know what? I would love to walk into a meeting and just be the one that talks all the time. But that was so far from what my skill set was. I knew that was something I had to work on. It was something I had to practice. I had to learn. I had to practice whether it would be in a social setting or whether it was a small meeting at work or those types of things. So that was young in my career. So I think skill sets, there's a lot of them. I think you find what's comfortable and is always there, like a warm sweater that's comfortable for you to act in. But I think you really need to exercise those other ones, the shortcomings or the things that are a little bit hard for you. Pick the situations where you would practice them and you would feel comfortable practicing and maybe have a bit of a rough go on them, but you would be able to build that skill set. So eventually, you know what, I could walk into a room and I could talk the whole time and I would be comfortable with it, whereas I never could have done that at the beginning.
Wow, I'm hearing so much courage in that. And even walking into that room where somebody's doing all the talking, as a leadership coach, one of the things I share with my clients all the time is the person controlling the conversation isn't the one speaking the most. It's the person asking the questions. So I commend you for asking questions and working on the areas that you're learning and growing in, and that continuous thirst to learn and grow. So thank you, Rhonda. Yes, recognition, I tell you, that's great. Kelly, I'm coming to you next now. Drawing on your own experiences, what strategies would you recommend for women looking to attain more prominent roles within their organization?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a quote that I have been thinking about when I knew I was going to come on this stage, and it's about, and I believe Zara may have touched on it earlier, it's about luck. I don't believe that people are lucky. I mean, I think sometimes people are lucky, but in terms of luck, I think luck is where preparation meets opportunity. So if you're prepared when the opportunity comes along, then maybe you'll get lucky and get the job, but you need to be prepared and there needs to be opportunities. And so to be prepared for the opportunity to perhaps, lead an organization one day or be that leader that you want to be at whatever level you choose in an organization, it's about being prepared. So it's about, throughout your career, being willing to try things, that maybe make you uncomfortable, right? Because if you're comfortable in a role, I think it's time to move on, because you know, once you become comfortable in a role, you know, I believe you stop growing in terms of the leadership, and you're, you know, you might become a little bit too comfortable. So taking opportunities, getting out of your comfort zone, doing things that maybe where you're still, like, we still learn every day, right? We lifelong learners, learning doesn't stop. But I think in my career, what helped me is I was willing to take positions that were so new to me and so out of my comfort zone that it forced me to show up every day with like a hunger. And it forced me to be really engaged and not being the one speaking all the time in meetings, but really listening and really hearing what people were saying so that I could understand. And I think too, through, you know, to get to a high level and take on a leadership role, you know, you might fail at a few things along the way. You might do, like, it's good, mistakes are okay as long as you learn from them. And so I think by putting yourself out there, making yourself vulnerable, getting out of your comfort zone, and taking opportunities as they come that make sense for you to take, you know, you have to weigh. I think, you know, for me, I was deployed with, in West Africa, in Mali with the UN, and I had to leave my 2 sons for a year. It was really hard for me, but we worked through that. And the biggest thing for me when I got back was my son said to me, "Mom, we are so proud of you." And like, it meant the world to me. So you have to sometimes, you know, like I said, get out of your comfort zone and maybe do things that are hard, but it sets you up so nicely for when you do get those opportunities and you're prepared for the position that you eventually get.
Wow, yeah. Kelly, as a little boy, all I ever wanted to hear my dad tell me was he was proud of me. What did it feel like for your boys to tell you they were proud of their mom?
It was amazing because, of course, mom guilt. I felt so bad that I had left for a year. I mean, I saw them you know, along the way every few months, but it's so hard when you miss your sons and you have that mom guilt, and then for them to say that at such a young age, it just like it fulfilled me. It warmed my heart. I was very happy.
Amazing, amazing. And you were also eavesdropping in on our lunchtime conversation. We talked about failure and that we don't really care for failure, but we do like making miss-takes and trying another take and trying another take and keep going and keep going. Marjorie, I'm going to come down to you. And so mentorship and sponsorship can really play a significant role in overcoming adversity and really fostering career growth. So could you share the role that mentors and sponsors have played in your career journey? How did you actively seek out and engage mentors and sponsors? We heard we should have many, many mentors, like there's no limit.
I was going to say the same thing. Like Zara just mentioned that you should not just have one mentor. You should have multiple mentors. And I so believe in that. And mentors have been so important for me throughout my career because I was able to take what I like from that woman or from that man and really like apply it to me. It's like, oh my God, I think that's the recipe that makes that person, you know, successful. And mentors are there to guide you, and they're the best people to give you the confidence that you're lacking. They're the best to push you and to push you out of your comfort zone. And you should have plenty because all of these diversity, personality, all of these different people have different things to bring to you. And now that I'm also still seeking advice, right? I'm also, every time I go out or I go to my colleagues or even, you know, my directs, but it's important to continue seek feedback because this is how you grow. And coaching back is so much important.
So with that then, do you ask for a mentor or do you tell them you are my mentor? Like, help me understand that.
So in different companies, you have mentor programs. So you can actually I want to be a mentee and I want to be a mentor. So you can register with, like Air Canada, you have that program. But, you know, I have colleagues here around me and we didn't say, oh, can you be my mentor? But by interacting to each other, they come back and say, you know what, you've taught me so much in the past year, and I really look up to you. And so so it's not necessarily, can you be my mentor? But it's all of your interaction with your people that you seek, and you don't have to tell, by the way, you're my mentor, you know. But
we don't even have to tell them. This can just be like our secret, like you're my mentor and you don't even know it.
Definitely.
This reminded me of February 14th when I was a little kid again, and you know, would you be my Valentine?
Yes or no?
Oh no, let's not go there. Rhonda, come to you, help me. Rhonda, how do you incorporate emotional intelligence and mental wellness into your leadership style to foster a supportive and resilient team environment?
Yeah, that's there's a lot in there. There's a lot, and I think, you know, it's paying attention to the things that are important to the people that you work with, the things that are important to you. I think you develop that kind of style that's, you know, got the empathy, or you know, I think a lot of communication. I think a good support system with a lot of people in it, and touch points and communication really strengthen that. And it's a skill that the more things you experience, or obstacles or challenges you learn to deal with, you get better at seeing the signs or the triggers or the things, and you become more aware. So it's such an awareness thing for me, and you know, looking at my team and different characteristics or attributes or things that motivate them or things that detract from them. And I think as a leader, you really get versatile in how you deal with different people and what it is. I think mental wellness, you know, we talk about COVID. I know at Minto, we went through, we were just starting a North American ERP implementation at the start of COVID, and we were already in, and so they are stressful enough on a team and group of people, but to throw COVID in and do it over that period of time was a real learning experience with touching base with your people, and how often you do that, and how you have a support system, and making sure people are okay. And you know, talked about, you know, people may think people aren't working that time. My problem was people were overworking during that time, and you know, it was the long haul of people's mental wellness that you wanted to ensure as a leader you were protecting for people. And so it was conversations, and it was about them understanding, putting themselves first, and making sure they could get through all of it. But that was a very challenging time for emotional wellness, and a lot drawn on emotional intelligence.
It's hard to believe it was COVID-19 and we're 2024. I love what you're saying about, you know, don't check up on your people, check in with your people. And I'm not sure that it's gotten a whole lot easier in the last 5 years, quite frankly, Rhonda. Kelly, can I ask you that same question as well? How do you incorporate emotional intelligence and mental wellness into your leadership style to foster that supportive and resilient environment and culture?
Yeah, I think for me it starts with self-awareness and understanding how my emotions or how I react to things impacts the team that I'm leading. And also it's about connecting with the individuals on the team and really understanding them, and like seeking to understand things from their perspective. People have different perspectives on things. Different things affect different people differently. Also, you know, mental wellness, I think it's about, in leadership, it's about walking the talk and being like leading by example. You know, if you're a boss that never takes holidays, is stressed out all the time, and, you know, if you're not looking after yourself, then what does that tell the team in terms of what's important to you? And so I think it's really important to lead by example. Make sure people take holidays, like their vacation days. If they need to take a sick day, they should be taking sick days. They should be able to, you know, I think being approachable as a boss as well, and being trusted in terms of, you know, people have a lot going on in their lives that come into the workspace, right? Like, you don't just leave some of the things that are going on in your life, and once you're at work and you're not thinking of anything else. And so I think it's important to check in with people, not only on how they're doing at work, but how they're doing in general, and support them the best way you can, and make sure that if you can't support them, you know, if you if you personally can't maybe fix or help fix the problem, that you guide them and give them good advice and make sure they know the supports that are available to them through most organizations and companies.
So I might just tap on that a little bit, because I believe that I'm one human being, and I can't stop my work from coming home or affecting my home life, and I can't stop my home life from affecting my work life. I don't want it to dramatically impact my work life, but do you have any tips for us around that, or do we flow with that? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think, you know, I was a police officer, as I said, and I think things kind of ebb and flow, and you can't really control when you're really busy and when you're not. But I think being mature or aware enough to, when you have some downtime, to rest, to take time for yourself, so that, because when you take time for yourself, you're better to everyone else around you, right? You're a better mother, you're a better leader, you're a better friend. But also, and sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. Help me out here,
Yeah,
Bill.
absolutely. Well, you're reminding me you're reminding me of what my mother taught me. And she said, Billy, don't be selfish, that's rude. She said, but always be self-full. And if you don't take care of yourself first, you're not going to have any energy left to take care of those people you love, whether they be family or whether they be your work family. So it's really critical to be self-full and take care of you first. I think I'm building off your point.
Absolutely. And to me, too, like, with the profession that I've been in, it was really important for physical fitness. For me, that was, and it doesn't mean that it's that way for everyone, but I felt like it was such a good release of stress. And also, you know, it's important to be fit and healthy when you show up for work, when you're doing, I guess, police work. There are certain types of jobs where that's very important. But one thing that I do notice now is my teenage boys tell me, they're like, hey, Mom, you're way more chill now. So I guess, not that I'm not busy at Accenture, for any Accenture folks that are here, but I don't think I bring home the same type of stress or sense of responsibility that I used to, and I'm not on my phone, my BlackBerry all the time.
Fair enough.
At the hockey rink.
Fair enough, because if you're at the hockey rink, be at the hockey rink, right? Like that's okay. We should be there.
It's good to be present.
Yeah, absolutely. Marjorie, I'm going to come down to you. How do you prioritize your continuous learning and professional development within your organization to really ensure sustained growth and innovation and continuous change, I'm guessing, at Air Canada?
I mean, I think everybody here understands that continuous learning is important, because they wouldn't be here otherwise. But continuous learning comes in different forms. You don't necessarily have to go into a class, take a certificate, or go into a conference. When I was consultant, I was leaving Sunday, coming back Friday, so it was, you know, crazy hours. But it was important for me to continuously learn, so I bought books. I was like, I'm going to continue to learn. I don't have time to go into a conference or take a certificate, because, you know, there's so much hours in a day. But I was like, I'm going to take a book, and when I'm in a plane, or because you're pretty much alone when you're consulting and traveling, but when I eat alone, then I'm going to read a book, and this is how I'm going to continue, you know, work my brain, learn about other management style, other environment, other companies. So there's different ways to continuously learn. But, you know, as all leaders here, or even if you are people manager, you have a role and a responsibility to ensure that you have your own development plan, and if you are a people manager, that all of your staff and employees do have a development plan, that you schedule not just one-on-ones on a regular basis to talk about work, but having specific coaching session that is really focused on the person, on the growth of the person. That is crucial to put that into place, to have a continuous learning into your culture. That's my opinion.
Well, and if we don't continually learn, we're not growing, right?
Exactly.
I mean, we've got to keep growing.
Yeah.
And that's not always comfortable. You know, when we're learning how to do something, you're not good at it to begin with. And so you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, learning and growing all the time.
Put yourself into a challenge, like, you know, me today here on stage. But, you know,
how's she doing, folks? How's she doing? Yeah.
Thank you.
And next season, she's going to be acting on stage. Back to that childhood dream. That's done, Marjorie? Okay. Rhonda, I'm going to come to you next. What advice would you give to women about advocating for themselves in their careers, whether it's negotiating for a raise, asking for a promotion, or seeking new opportunities?
Yeah.
And all of her staff, listen now, this is how you ask for a raise.
Yeah, there's a lot of them here today. You know, I think that was a learning journey for me too. I think when you go back to what are the norms and what are the standards, and I think, you know, as a female and you go through school and you work hard and you get good grades and you get rewarded, and that's just your parents, you do good things, they reward you or they say good things about you. And so when you get in your career and you work hard and you think, okay, this is how it is, you work hard and you're going to get recognized and you're going to get things will come to you. And you know, I talk about, you know, I put my head up and went, what is going on around here? It's, you've worked hard, but there's a component of it where you have to advocate for yourself, right? You have to have the confidence, you have to have built the skills. I'm all about putting the successes and that down on paper that you have had, but being able to articulate those things about, these are the good things I've done, these are things that I work on, these are things I continue to challenge myself with. But you are the best advocate for you. It's good to build a network of people that also stand you up and support you, and you support them. I'm learning that more and more every day, and really leaning on colleagues when there's challenges or things that you require help with to go. And they talk about resilience, and I think as you move into, you know, different positions within an organization, you have to build that a little bit more. And so again, it's a practice thing. It's once you get good at it and sometimes you're successful at it and you go to bat for yourself, it feels pretty good coming out of the other side of it, right? But I believe in all of the work that goes behind that too. Like, you have to put in the work and do the things that make the improvements or make the impact, or you know, working with all of your teams to achieve goals and strategies and that type of thing. But you do have to learn that skill set to advocate for yourself.
Yeah. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. You're reminding me, though, of an acronym called PI. And you might want to jot this down. PI stands for performance. And so getting those results that you're talking about all the time. I stands for your image. So what's your leadership brand? What's your leadership statement? If you want to learn more about that, check out Porter Gale's book, Your Network is Your Net Worth. She's brilliant. And the E stands for your exposure. How much exposure do you have to other leaders within the organization who are championing for you, who are sponsoring you? And, you know, not only do you need to self-advocate, look to see who are those mentors that are, you know, out there really fighting for you. And this is when all things are going really great. But Kelly, what about when things aren't going so great? How do you approach leadership and leading your team through a crisis? And what are the principles that you use during challenging times?
All right, well, I like a good crisis because it opens up a lot of opportunities later, especially. But I think for me, when I work my best, it's in a crisis situation. I don't know if it's the way I'm hardwired, if it's my training, but I'm shooting at, like, I'm firing at all cylinders when there's a good crisis in front of me. I love it. And I have an example, actually, that I could talk about, and it was when I was in Mali. My role in Mali was, I was the contingent commander of the 1st Police contingent from Canada that went over to work with the United Nations in Mali in West Africa at the mission there. And so I had that role, and I also had a role within the mission where I was representing the police component. It was the first time that a uniformed officer was in a civilian component at the mission, which was kind of the nucleus of the mission, where everything was feeding into this unit. So military operations, police operations, the civilian aspects of the mission, the diplomatic aspects. It was the best place to work. So I was responsible for 21 police officers that were over there with me at the time from Canada, and they were deployed all over Mali. And Mali at the time was very dangerous in some areas to work. And so there was that, but I haven't got to the crisis yet.
That's just the starting ground. Okay.
Right. So I had developed really good communications with those folks on my team that were deployed all over Mali. We had a good way of not only communicating, but ensuring that, you know, good information was passed back and forth. We had kind of a buddy system. We looked after each other. We had contingency plans in place. We had all that. We had to kind of start from scratch and develop all of those things. But near the end of the mission, when we had about, I think there was about 2 months left, that's when COVID hit. And so now it's already a stressful environment that's relatively dangerous, and now there's COVID, and we're hearing from back home, like, I think COVID hit more on this continent before it hit in Africa. Like, we were just, anyway, we were learning about things kind of a little bit behind people back home, and so I noticed that some of the members of my team were becoming quite anxious and stressed by this. And so for me, the crisis was, okay, we are now on another continent. There's COVID, there's all this talk about, like, the world's gonna shut down, and, like, will we be able to get home, and how are we gonna get home? And people were worried about relatives back home. And so for me, that's when my leadership kicked in. I'm like, okay, I need to kick it up a notch here. Like, I need to make sure not only am I having really good communications, but I wanna have one-on-one communications with my folks. I wanna have good comms back home so that I'm able to inform my team of what I know, and so that they don't have these questions. I want to make sure that I facilitate communications for my team back home with their families. And then I had to work on the side as well with the Canadian military, with others, the embassy, the Canadian embassy in Mali as well, in terms of what are our contingency plans for COVID, how are we going to keep our people safe. And so it was, you know, I think a time when I was anxious as well, but I didn't show it. I stepped up with leadership. I stepped up with my communications. I showed empathy. And, you know, I think we got out of everyone made it home from Mali safely to Canada. We all came back to this strange environment where we're like, why is everyone avoiding each other? Because it wasn't that way in Africa when we were there. It was really strange. We were about 3 or 4 months behind everyone else. But I think that's a proud moment for me, because I felt like I was there for my team, and I really felt like we gelled as a team and came together, and we didn't overreact. We just did what we had to do to make sure that everyone was safe and everyone got home.
Wow, yes. Thank you. Such an incredible time that we'll all never forget. We may have been very afraid, and so Marjorie, speaking of fear, I'm going to come to you. Can you talk about a time when you had to confront fear in your professional journey and how you managed to turn it into an opportunity?
Yeah, I guess we'll go back to COVID, but I touched base a bit on it. Like, you know, being a young leader and being off work for 2 years in a row, you tend to be scared of not being able to go back or being forgotten and being replaced. So when I was out and searching for a job and not being able to get to where I wanted to be, I was really, really scared to not get a job because I was a mother now, and not go back to what I was meant to do, which is, you know, coach leadership and go back to my root. But I turned this opportunity to go back to my network, to go back to, you know, when you're off on mat leave, you tend to just focus on, you know, your baby, your family, but you can't forget your network. And I turned this opportunity to go back to my network and reach out and say, you know what, I'm not happy to where I am right now with my new job, and can you help me out? You know, give your hand out and say, just, I need help, and my network helped me, and that's how I got into Air Canada, and that's how I do the job I love to do right now. So conquer your fear, don't be ashamed, reach out for help, and, you know, I love when you said, you know, you went out for a year, even if you have children. It's not easy. We do feel ashamed, and we travel a lot, but having those, I'm so proud of you, or even me this morning a little, you can do this, mommy, on the phone, is like, it's meant the world to you. And it shouldn't just be the man that gets out there and be promoted. So kudos to all the women here.
Yes, yes. That is what the day is all about. Yeah. Thank you. And so, Rhonda, what about you? Did you have a couple of words to say about that question around how you confront fear in your professional journey and had to manage and turn it into opportunity.
And I think, it's always when you're faced with something and you kind of dig a little deeper and you pull out those qualities that you're never quite confident you had. I don't have any stories similar to Kelly, but I think it comes down to, what are you relying on? What is the confidence in yourself? What is your network group? And what is the value that you deserve and the recognition that you deserve, or what is the best way to manage forward, right? And I think there's been times in your career where you gut check on, is this really what it is or what I'm supposed to be doing? And so self-reflection and learning, I think, are all great things, right, to get through that.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Kelly, I'm going to start with you, and we'll just work our way down, if you will. Just in our final seconds together here, in a word, looking out at this audience, what gives you hope?
There's a lot of things, but I think there's a lot of, especially, all women, be bold. Be bold and take up space.
Love it. Rhonda.
I'm very optimistic. I think looking at the women that I work with and surround it with, I think there's a lot more great things coming.
And Marjorie.
What gives me hope is I feel like we support each other even more. So continue supporting each other, because this is how we can all win. So.
Yes. I asked some questions earlier today, and I'll ask you as a panel collectively, right now, with this audience, do you feel heard?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you.
Do you feel seen?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And do you feel understood?
Yes.
I hope so.
I'm sorry I cannot help you with compensation, but there's compensation right there. Thank you, thank you, thank you to our executive panel. Amazing. Marjorie, Rhonda, Kelly, thank you so much.